Welcome back to the Deep Dive. I am your host, and today we're doing something a little different. Usually we're looking outward, right? At tech trends, history, geopolitics.
All the big macro stuff.
Exactly, the macro stuff. But today we are turning the lens inward. We are looking at, well, your bank account, your driveway, your closet, and the psychological traps that might be keeping you from the freedom you actually want. We are tackling the subject of wealth.
And just to introduce myself, I am the resident researcher here.
Yeah.
And I have to say, we are not just doing the typical, how to get rich quick stuff.
Right. No crypto schemes today.
No, definitely not.
Yeah.
We are deconstructing the entire American mythology of what wealth actually looks like. Because as it turns out, almost everything we think we know about being rich is just completely wrong.
It really is. And to kick things off, I want to try a little visualization experiment with you and with everyone listening right now. I want you to close your eyes. Obviously, please keep them open if you're driving, but if you are safe, close them. Now, conjure up the image of a millionaire, the absolute archetype.
Okay, I am playing along. I have got my eyes closed.
What do you see? Paint the picture for me.
I am seeing a skyline. Maybe Manhattan or Chicago. A penthouse balcony overlooking the city.
Okay, keep going. What are they wearing?
Definitely a suit, but not just any suit off the rack. Italian silk, bespoke, maybe a $5,000 watch on the wrist, something heavy like a Rolex or a Patek Philippe.
And the car?
Oh, it has to be a Ferrari. Or maybe a brand new Aston Martin, parked right out front in the valet spot.
Yeah.
Naturally.
Uh-huh.
And they are probably holding a glass of something, let's say a vintage Bordeaux.
Naturally. I mean, that is the exact image Hollywood, Madison Avenue, and Instagram have sold us for 50 years. It is that richy rich aesthetic, the great Gatsby effect.
It really is the standard definition of success in Western culture. If you make it, that is what you are supposed to look like.
But here is the twist, and it is the entire reason we are diving into this specific stack of research today. That image you just painted, statistically speaking, that is not a millionaire.
No. In fact, the research suggests that the guy in the Italian suit driving the Ferrari is often living on the absolute brink of insolvency.
It is mind-blowing. We are basing today's deep dive on the landmark study, The Millionaire Next Door by Thomas J. Stanley and William D. Danko. It is a really dense piece of work. We are talking about 20 years of research, surveys of over 1,000 people, massive focus groups with decamillionaires, and their findings just completely shatter that Gatsby image.
It is almost a complete inversion of reality. The data shows that the typical American millionaire is not the guy in the penthouse. He is a 57-year-old man, usually married to the same woman for decades. He lives in a dull, middle-class neighborhood. He drives a modest American car. Statistically, a Ford F-150 is way more likely than a Ferrari. And he is certainly not drinking vintage Bordeaux.
So what is he drinking?
Budweiser. Or, whatever beer was on sale at the local grocery store.
That is, well, it's pretty underwhelming, honestly.
It is boring.
Uh-huh.
And that is exactly the point. The core thesis we really need to get across today is that wealth and income are two completely different things. Most people think wealth is making a lot of money, but the research proves that wealth is what you accumulate, not what you spend.
So if you make $1 million a year and spend $1 million a year,
you aren't wealthy. You are just a conduit for currency.
A conduit for currency. I like that.
Yeah, you are living a high consumption lifestyle, but you have zero endurance. If the paycheck stops, the lifestyle evaporates immediately.
I want to jump right into one of the best anecdotes from the research because I think it perfectly encapsulates this disconnect between looking rich and being rich. It is the story of the Texan.
Yes. The big hat, no cattle phenomenon.
I love that phrase so much. For those who aren't from Texas, break that down for us.
It is an old cowboy insult. If someone has a big hat but no cattle, they're all show and no substance. They dress up like a cowboy, but they don't actually own the herd.
So Stanley and Danko are interviewing this 35-year-old entrepreneur in Texas. This guy owned a business rebuilding large diesel engines. Now think about that business. It is gritty, it is industrial, it is dirty work.
Right. And the owner absolutely looked the part. He is driving a 10-year-old car. He is wearing jeans and a buckskin shirt. He lives in a very modest house in a lower middle-class neighborhood right next to postal clerks and mechanics.
So definitely not the Manhattan penthouse vibe we talked about earlier.
You're not even close.
Yeah.
But his balance sheet is rock solid. He is a millionaire several times over. Now, here is the kicker. He told the researchers about a time some British investors came to town to meet him. They were looking to put a bunch of money into his business.
And they are expecting the boss, right? The guy in the tailored suit.
Exactly. They have this mental model of what a successful American tycoon looks like. So they walk into a shop, they see this guy in the buckskin shirt and the beat-up car, and they gloss right over him. They literally thought he was one of the truck drivers. They were looking around the office for the real owner. They completely misjudged him because their mental model of wealth was broken.
And what did the Texan say later?
He told the authors, "I don't own big hats, but I have a lot of cattle."
That is the distinction we're going to spend the rest of this deep dive unpacking. Cattle are assets. Hats are just costumes. And it turns out spending money on the hat is exactly what prevents most people from ever owning the cattle.
It is the ultimate trap. We constantly confuse the artifacts of wealth with wealth itself. We think, well, if I look rich, I am rich. But the math says, if you look rich, you are probably spending the very money you need to actually get rich.
So let's get into the nitty-gritty of the data. Who are these people really? If they aren't the guys in the Italian suits, who are they? When the researchers looked at the demographics, what stood out to you the most?
Well, first, let's look at occupation. When we think millionaire, we usually think of high visibility roles. Celebrities, pro athletes, tech CEOs, maybe a lottery winner.
The people we see on the magazine covers, the outliers.
Right. But statistically, those people are entirely irrelevant to the general millionaire population. The typical millionaire is a business owner, but in what the authors call dull normal industries.
Dull normal. That is a great term. Give me some examples of dull normal.
You're talking welding contractors, pest controllers, owners of mobile home parks, paving contractors, rice farmers, auctioneers.
Pest controllers. So the guy spraying for termites at my house might actually have a higher net worth than the lawyer I hired last week.
It is highly probable, and we will actually get to a specific case study comparing those exact two types of people a bit later. But think about why that is for a second. If you own a pest control company or a paving business, do you need to signal status to your clients?
No, absolutely not. If a guy shows up to pave my driveway in an Armani suit, I am going to think he is crazy. I want him to look like he knows how to pave a driveway.
Exactly. His profession allows him, even encourages him to be frugal. He doesn't have a status overhead. He can wear jeans, drive a truck, and live in a modest neighborhood without hurting his business one bit. In fact, living modestly might actually help him connect better with his employees and his customers.
That is a huge advantage. He isn't fighting the status game at all. He gets to opt out of the consumer rat race because his job just doesn't demand it.
And that connects directly to the self-employment statistic. In the general U.S. population, less than 20% of workers are self-employed. But among millionaires, 2/3 are self-employed.
2/3. That is a massive overrepresentation.
It really is. And it is not just about income potential. It is about control. When you are self-employed, you control your own overhead. You control your own tax destiny, which we will definitely get to, and you control your own corporate culture. You don't have a boss telling you to buy a nicer car to fit the image of the firm.
Now, I have to play devil's advocate here. I can hear a listener right now saying, sure, they own a business, but they probably inherited the money to start it. We have this pervasive idea that wealth in America is old money. The Rockefellers, the Vanderbilts.
That is the second biggest myth, right after the Ferrari myth. The data is crystal clear on this. 80% of American millionaires are first-generation rich.
80%.
80%. They started with nothing, or very close to it. They didn't inherit a trust fund. They didn't win the lottery. They built it slowly, over 30 or 40 years. The study says the probability of becoming wealthy via a lottery win or a rock star contract is something like 1 in 4,000. But the probability of a household reaching $1 million net worth through disciplined behavior is vastly higher. It is a completely attainable goal.
So it isn't about lightning striking, it is about boring consistency.
Boring, unsexy consistency. It is about lifestyle. It is about waking up every day and deciding not to spend money you don't have to spend.
There is a story in the notes here about a focus group that I think is just hilarious. It really highlights this whole lifestyle clash. The authors wanted to interview decamillionaires, people worth over $10 million.
Oh, the Mr. Bud story. This is classic.
Yeah.
So the authors are hired by a trust company. The trust company wants to understand the super wealthy so they can sell them financial services. They recruit a group of guys worth $10 million plus.
A very exclusive group.
Extremely. And the researchers think, okay, we need to make these guys feel comfortable. We need to treat them like the aristocrats they are. So they rented this posh penthouse on Manhattan's East Side. They hired a gourmet food designer. They put out 4 kinds of pâté, 3 kinds of caviar. They bought cases of 1970 Bordeaux and a 1973 Cabernet Sauvignon.
They set the stage for the Hollywood millionaire. They leaned entirely into the stereotype.
They did. So the first guest arrives. They call him Mr. Bud in the book. He is 69 years old, a first-generation millionaire. He owns commercial real estate and some gold mines. But he walks in wearing a worn-out suit and a shabby overcoat. He basically looks like a guy you would see waiting at a bus stop.
And the hosts are just standing there with their silver trays of caviar.
Exactly. They ask him, Mr. Bud, may I pour you a glass of the 1970 Bordeaux? And Mr. Bud looks at them, totally confused, and says, I drink scotch and 2 kinds of beer, free and Budweiser.
Free and Budweiser. That needs to be on a t-shirt.
It gets better.
Oh.
Over the next 2 hours, the other deck of millionaires arrive. And you know what happened? They barely touched the food. They ate the plain gourmet crackers, but they wouldn't touch the pâté. They didn't drink the vintage wine. They shifted uncomfortably in their chairs. They were just regular guys who happened to be incredibly rich.
So who ate the pâté?
The researchers and the trust officers in the next room had to eat all the leftovers. The people who weren't millionaires were the ones who appreciated the millionaire food.
That is such a perfect metaphor. The artifacts of wealth, the wine, the caviar, the suits, they are more important to the people trying to look wealthy than the people who actually are.
That is the key insight. High-status artifacts are for status seekers. The true accumulators of wealth are often completely indifferent to them. They value financial independence over social signaling.
Okay, so we have established the persona. Regular guys, blue-collar businesses, Budweiser drinkers. But we need to get technical for a minute because feeling wealthy and actually being wealthy are different things. The book gives us a very specific mathematical way to measure this.
Yes, this is the distinction between net worth and income. It seems basic, but so many people conflate the two. Income is what you bring in today. Net worth is what you keep. It is assets minus liabilities.
Simple accounting.
But here's the tool the authors give us. It is a formula to determine if you're actually good at building wealth relative to your age and income. Because obviously, a 50-year-old earning $100,000 a year should have more saved than a 25-year-old earning the same amount.
Right. Time is a massive factor. You have had more time to accumulate.
So here's the formula. Listeners, you might want to pause and actually do this math for yourself. Take your age. Multiply it by your annual realized household pre-tax income. Then divide that number by 10.
Okay, let's run an example. Let's say I'm 41 years old, like the example in the book, and my household income is $155,000.
Okay, 41 times 155,000 is roughly 6.35 million. Divide that by 10, that is $635,500.
So $635,000 is my target net worth.
That is the average expectation. If your net worth is around that number, you are an average accumulator of wealth or an AEW. You are doing okay. You are keeping pace with the average.
But the book categorizes people into 2 extreme groups beyond the average, right?
Well,
the winners and the losers of this equation.
Yes. You have PAWs and the UAWs. A PAW is a prodigious accumulator of wealth. To be a PAW, you need to have a net worth that is twice your expected level. So in your example, you would need to be worth roughly $1.27 million at age 21 to be considered a PAW.
That is a really high bar.
It is, but that is who the millionaires next door are. Now, the other side is the UAW, the under-accumulator of wealth. That is someone whose net worth is 1/2 or less of the expected level. So if our 41-year-old only had $317,000 saved, he is a UAW. He is falling significantly behind.
And I bet a lot of people listening are doing that math in their heads right now and feeling a little twinge of panic.
It is a sobering reality check. It exposes whether you are playing offense or defense with your money. Are you building a fortress, or are you just burning fuel as fast as it comes in?
Let's look at a case study from the book that illustrates this difference perfectly. This is the comparison between Mr. Richards and Mr. Ford. To me, this was the real aha moment of the entire study.
It is a stark comparison because on paper, their incomes are almost identical. So let's start with Mr. Richards. He is a mobile home dealer.
A dull, normal business.
Exactly. He earns about $90,000 a year. He is roughly 50 years old. Based on the formula we just did, his expected net worth should be around $450,000. But his actual net worth is $1.1 million.
So he is a PAW. He has more than double what is expected. He is killing it.
He is a massive paw. Now look at Mr. Ford. He is an attorney. He earns about the same, actually a little more, $92,000. His expected net worth is similar, around $470,000.
But
and his actual net worth, only $226,000.
So he is a UAW. He has less than half of what he should have at his age and income.
He has literally 1/5 the wealth of the mobile home dealer, despite making the same money and being the exact same age.
Why? That is the million-dollar question here. Why is the lawyer so much poorer than the mobile home dealer?
It comes down to what we touched on earlier, lifestyle expectations and status artifacts. Think about Mr. Ford's life. He is an attorney. What does society expect an attorney to look like?
He needs to look successful. He can't really show up to court or meet a client in a beat-up car.
Right. Or at least he thinks he can't. He feels he needs to drive a foreign luxury car to impress clients. He feels he needs to belong to the country club to network with the other partners. He needs to wear expensive suits. Every single dollar he earns has a job to do, and that job is supporting the image of a successful lawyer.
He is totally trapped in high-status overhead.
Exactly. He is running on a treadmill that never stops.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, look at Mr. Richards. He sells mobile homes. Who is he trying to impress?
Nobody. He is dealing with people who just want a basic roof over their heads.
Exactly. He lives a blue-collar lifestyle. He doesn't need the country club membership to sell mobile homes. He doesn't need the BMW. His overhead is rock bottom. So every dollar he earns can go straight into investments, not appearances. The lawyer looks the part, but the mobile home dealer actually has the freedom.
It really challenges the whole idea of professionalism, doesn't it? We think we need these things to succeed, but often they are just massive drains on our resources. We are buying props for a play that nobody's actually watching.
And that brings us to the most critical concept in the book: offense versus defense.
Okay, let's unpack this. We usually think earning money, the offense, is the hard part. If I just made more money, I would be rich. If I just got that promotion, everything would be solved.
That is the trap. High income is offense. It is great. You absolutely need it. You can't save what you don't make, but frugality and budgeting, that is defense. And just like in football, defense wins championships. You cannot win the game of wealth without a strong defense, no matter how good your offense is.
The authors introduce us to a character named Mrs. Rule. She is an auctioneer, again with the dull, normal jobs.
I love Mrs. Rule. She earns about $90,000 a year, similar to our previous examples, but she is worth $2 million. Why? Because she plays incredible defense. She budgets meticulously. She knows exactly what her family spends on food, clothing, shelter. She runs her household exactly like a profitable business.
And the surveys back this up completely. When they surveyed these millionaires about their spending habits, the numbers were shockingly low. Let's run through some of the stats on what real millionaires actually pay for things.
These numbers always blow people's minds. Take suits, for example, the ultimate symbol of the rich man. 50% of millionaires surveyed never spent more than $399 on a suit.
$399. That is JCPenney prices.
That is the absolute ceiling for half of them. Only 1% of millionaires ever paid $2,800 or more for a suit.
So the guys buying the $3,000 custom Italian suits are not the millionaires?
Usually not. They are the UAWs. They are the high-income earners who haven't accumulated wealth yet. They are buying the suit to signal that they have made it, while the guy who actually has made it is wearing a suit right off the rack.
What about shoes?
50% never spent more than $140 on a pair of shoes.
And watches. The ultimate flex in today's culture.
50% never spent more than $235. The number one watch brand among millionaires isn't Rolex, it is Seiko.
Seiko. That is amazing. It really drives home the point that the artifacts of wealth are just marketing. But wait, I have to ask the obvious question. Why do they do it? Why do they budget if they already have millions of dollars?
The authors ask that too. They say, why would a millionaire need to budget? They have plenty of money.
Right. It seems completely counterintuitive. I'm rich. I should be able to buy whatever I want.
They compare it to jogging. You see a fit person running down the street and you think, well, they already fit. They don't need to jog. But the reality is they are fit because they jog. Millionaires have money because they budget. They didn't stop doing the things that got them rich once they got rich. The habit creates the result, and maintaining the habit maintains the result.
That is a really powerful reframe. It is a lifelong discipline, not a temporary fix just to get to a certain number.
And the question for the listener is this. Do you know exactly how much your family spends annually on food, clothing, and gifts? The paws, the wealthy ones, almost always say yes. The UAWs, the ones struggling to build wealth, almost always say no.
They just have their head in the sand.
Exactly. Ignorance is expensive. If you don't track it, you can't control it.
So we have covered the spending side, the defense. But there is another opponent on the field that we have to talk about, a really big, really hungry opponent.
The tax man.
The IRS. This section of the deep dive is where we get into the difference between realized and unrealized income. And honestly, this is the secret sauce of the super rich. This is exactly how the rich stay rich.
It is. To build wealth, the strategy is simple, but not easy. Minimize your realized income, that is, the cash you actually take home that gets taxed, and maximize your unrealized income.
Explain that distinction for us. Imagine I am 5 years old.
Okay. Realized income is your paycheck. It is cash in hand. The second you get it, the government takes a bite, let's say 30 or 40%, depending on your bracket. It shows up on your W-2. You cannot hide from it. Unrealized income is when something you own grows in value, but you don't sell it.
Like my house.
Yes. If your house goes up in value by $50,000 this year, you just got $50,000 richer. But did the IRS send you a bill for that $50,000?
No, not until I actually sell it.
Exactly. That is unrealized wealth. It grows tax-free until you cash out. The typical millionaire in the study lives on less than 7% of their total wealth annually. That 7% is the only part that is subject to income tax. They keep the rest of their wealth growing in tax shelters, businesses, or unrealized stock gains.
The book uses two women to illustrate this, Sharon and Barbara.
Yes. Sharon is our classic UAW. She has a high income, about $220,000, but her net worth is really low, around $370,000. Because her wealth is almost entirely her salary, she pays an absolute fortune in taxes. She pays the equivalent of nearly 19% of her total wealth to the IRS every single year.
Ouch. Imagine handing over a fifth of everything you own to the government every single year. That is a massive drag on your ability to accumulate anything.
She is cash rich, but asset poor. Now look at Barbara. She is a paw. She has the exact same income, $220,000, but her net worth is $3.5 million. She owns a business. She has investments. Because her wealth is stored in assets, she pays the equivalent of only 2% of her total wealth in taxes.
So Barbara is keeping her wealth to work for her while Sharon is just bleeding hers out.
Precisely. And the book has this hilarious hypothetical dialogue between two IRS agents, Bob Stern and Mr. Young. They basically admit that the government loves people like Sharon.
Because she is a golden goose.
They actually call high-consumption people patriots.
Patriots! That is incredibly cynical.
It is, but it is true. High consumers keep the money moving and generate immediate tax revenue. When you buy a boat, you pay sales tax. The boat dealer pays income tax. The gas station pays tax when you fill it up. The government finds the pause the barbers incredibly frustrating because they transform income into wealth, which is really hard to tax until the person dies. And even then, they might just donate it to charity.
So the lesson here is, if you want to be a patriot in the eyes of the IRS, go buy a luxury car and earn a huge salary. But if you want to be wealthy, hide your money in appreciating assets.
That is the game. And playing that game takes time.
Let's talk about time, because there seems to be a huge difference in how these two groups actually spend their time. We mentioned planning earlier.
Time is money, literally in this context. The research found that PAWs spend nearly twice as much time planning their financial investments as UAWs do.
Twice as much time?
Yes. The average PAW spends about 8.4 hours a month just planning. Budgeting, researching stocks, strategizing, reviewing their portfolio. The UAWs say they are too busy working to plan, but in reality, they are spending their time worrying.
There's a tale of two doctors in the book, Dr. North and Dr. South. This is probably the most detailed comparison in the study, and it is a bit of a tragedy, really.
It is. They both make huge money, over $700,000 a year.
700 grand. That is elite income. That is the 1%.
It is. But Dr. South is a UAW. He has high consumption, low net worth. He's the guy who has it all but actually owns nothing. And his car buying strategy perfectly illustrates why she is losing the game.
Oh, the Porsche story. Walk us through this. This is painful to read.
So Dr. South decides he needs a new Porsche, a $65,000 car. He convinces himself he is being prudent because he's going to negotiate the best possible deal. He treats it like a war. He spends over 60 hours, researching, calling dealers, playing them off each other, driving to different cities just to save a few bucks.
He is a surgeon. What is his hourly rate?
Exactly. That is the entire point. If he makes $300 or $400 an hour, he just spent $18,000 or $20,000 of his time to save maybe $2,000 on the car. He completely ignored the opportunity cost.
And the emotional toll.
He is a wreck. He worries about sustaining his lifestyle. He worries about his kids who are addicted to spending. He is rich in terms of income, but he is miserable. He is constantly looking over his shoulder, terrified the income will stop.
And Dr. North?
Dr. North is a paw. Net worth of $7.5 million. He drives a 6-year-old Mercedes. But here is the key. He bought it used. He bought it when it was 3 years old for $35,000.
So he let someone else take the massive depreciation hit.
Exactly. He recognized that the pride of new car ownership wasn't worth the $20,000 or $30,000 loss that happens the literal minute you drive off the lot. And he spent very little time buying it. He just found a good used one and bought it. He spent his time planning his investments instead.
And his fear level?
Virtually non-existent. He's financially independent. If he stopped working tomorrow, he would be fine for decades. Dr. South would be in serious trouble within a year.
It really shows that peace of mind isn't bought at a dealership. It is bought with a savings account.
That is the ultimate luxury. Financial independence. The ability to say no to things you don't want to do.
I want to touch on something that really surprised me in the book. It is about heritage and ancestry. We have this idea of the WASP elite, the white Anglo-Saxon Protestant Mayflower descendant, as the primary holder of American wealth.
The old money myth. The blue bloods.
Right. But the data flips this on its head, too.
It does. When they looked at ancestry groups, the English ancestry group, the Mayflower types, actually ranked 4th in millionaire concentration. They aren't the top dogs at all.
So who is number 1?
The Russians.
The Russians.
Specifically Russian Americans.
Yeah.
And Scottish and Hungarian ancestry groups. These groups have the highest concentration of millionaires relative to their population size.
Why? What is the common thread there?
For the Russians and Hungarians, especially at the time of the study, it was often about first-generation entrepreneurship. They came here, saw opportunity, and started businesses. They didn't take high-status corporate jobs. They opened dry cleaners, scrap metal businesses, trucking companies. They worked hard and saved everything. They had that immigrant grit.
And the Scots.
The thrifty Scots. It is a deeply ingrained cultural value. The research shows that a Scottish household earning $100,000 often lives like a household earning $85,000. They invest the difference automatically. It is ingrained in the culture to be frugal and to hate waste.
Whereas the old money English culture might be more about displaying status.
Or simply that the wealth has dissipated over generations. The longer an ancestry group has been in America, the more likely they are to adopt the spend-it-all mentality. They assimilate into the consumer culture and lose the edge that built the wealth in the first place.
That leads us perfectly into the final trap, the kids. We talked about Dr. South worrying about his children. The book has a medical term for giving money to adult children, economic outpatient care, or EOC.
This is a devastating concept for wealthy parents. The instinct is to help your kids. You have money, they are struggling to buy a house, so you give them cash. You buy their house, you lease a car for them.
Sounds like being a good parent. You want them to have a good life.
But the data shows a paradox. The more dollars adult children receive, the fewer they accumulate themselves.
It weakens them.
It completely cripples them.
Yeah.
It teaches them to consume, not to produce. Dr. South's children see his wealth and view it as their income. They are just waiting for the handout. They live in neighborhoods they can't afford, driving cars they didn't buy. They never developed the defense muscles we talked about earlier.
And Dr. North kids?
Dr. North raised his kids in a frugal environment. He didn't even let them know he was wealthy until they were adults. He taught them discipline. So his children are self-sufficient. They don't need his money to survive.
So the lesson is, if you want your kids to be wealthy, teach them discipline. Don't just give them cash.
Exactly. The authors say, make them achievers, not consumers.
We have covered a massive amount of ground today. We have shattered the image of the millionaire. We have looked at the math, the cars, the suits, the taxes, and the kids.
It is a comprehensive dismantling of the entire American dream narrative as it is sold to us by advertisers.
So let's bring it home. If there's one secret to summarize all of this, what is it?
It is boring, but it is true. Wealth is about discipline. It is not about luck. It is not about a high IQ. It is not about going to an Ivy League school. It is about the daily discipline of spending less than you earn, investing the difference, and completely ignoring what your neighbors are doing.
The 7 factors the book lists really boil down to that.
Yeah.
Live below your means. Prioritize financial independence over social status. Don't spoil your kids.
And choose the right occupation, not necessarily the flashy one, but the profitable one, where you control your own overhead.
I want to leave the listener with a final thought, something to chew on as they go about their day, and this builds on everything we just discussed.
Here is the challenge. Next time you are driving through your neighborhood or walking down the street, look at the houses. Really look at the cars. That guy with the brand new luxury SUV, the pristine lawn service, the country club sticker on the bumper. There is a very high statistical probability that he is Dr. South. He is stressed, he is asset poor, and he's working entirely for the bank. He is running on the treadmill, and he can't get off.
And the other guy.
The guy 2 doors down, the one mowing his own lawn, the one driving the 5-year-old sedan, the one you barely notice because he is so quiet. He might be the multimillionaire who could literally buy the entire block.
It changes how you look at the world. It really makes you realize that what we think is wealth is often just a billboard for debt. And the truly provocative thought I want to leave you with is about time. Every dollar you spend on that status, every luxury item you buy to look the part, isn't just a dollar lost. Because of compound interest, that dollar represents future freedom you are actively giving away. When you buy the $60,000 car instead of the $30,000 one, you aren't just losing 30 grand. You are selling years of your future back to your employer. Time is the only real wealth, and status purchases are just a way of bankrupting your future time.
It really does come down to that. The question you have to ask yourself is, which game are you playing?
Yeah.
Are you playing the game of looking rich, or are you playing the game of being rich? You usually can't play both.
That is the ultimate choice. For everyone listening, I challenge you to start with that formula we gave you. Age times income divided by 10. Calculate your number today. See exactly where you stand. Are you a PA or UAW?
Face the numbers. That is always the first step.
Absolutely. Thank you for diving deep with us today. It has been a massive eye-opener.
Always a pleasure.
Keep digging deep. We will see you next time.